Welcome to Bookscape, your sanctuary for book lovers. Here we provide concise summaries and insightful reviews of the best books. Turn off the noise, settle in, and immerse yourself in the world of literature. Discover new favorites and explore captivating stories with Bookscape.
Today we're diving into the transformative world of creativity with Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear. If you've ever felt a creative spark inside you but hesitated to let it out, this book might just be the nudge you need. Gilbert, best known for her memoir Eat, Pray, Love, brings us a deeply personal yet universally relevant exploration of what it means to live a creative life. She doesn't just speak to artists, but to anyone who feels a pull towards creativity in any form. The magic of creativity. One of the main takeaways from Big Magic is Gilbert's belief in the magical nature of creativity. She sees ideas as almost sentient beings that float around us, waiting for someone to grab hold of them and bring them into the world. This perspective is both whimsical and empowering. As Gilbert says, the universe buries strange jewels deep within us all, and then stands back to see if we can find them. This profound statement captures the essence of Gilbert's belief that everyone possesses unique creative potential. These strange jewels represent the hidden talents, ideas, and passions that lie dormant within us, waiting to be discovered and brought to life. Gilbert's metaphor of the universe hiding these jewels implies that creativity is an inherent part of being human. It's not reserved for the few who are deemed gifted or talented by societal standards, but rather, it's a universal trait. The challenge lies in our willingness to seek out and uncover these hidden gems within ourselves. The idea that the universe stands back to see if we can find them suggests that it's up to us to take the initiative. We must be curious, brave, and persistent in our quest to explore our inner worlds. This journey of self-discovery can be daunting, as it requires us to confront our fears, doubts, and insecurities. However, it's also incredibly rewarding, as finding these jewels leads to a deeper understanding of ourselves and a greater sense of fulfillment. In Big Magic, Gilbert shares numerous stories of individuals who have embarked on this journey and discovered their own unique jewels. She illustrates how ordinary people have achieved extraordinary things by simply daring to look within and follow their creative impulses. These stories serve as powerful reminders that we all have the capacity to create, and that our contributions, no matter how small they may seem, add value to the world. By embracing the idea that we each have these strange jewels within us, we can start to see creativity not as a privilege, but as a responsibility. It's our duty to dig deep, to nurture our ideas, and to share them with the world. This perspective shifts the focus from external validation to internal satisfaction, encouraging us to create for the sake of creation itself. Permission to create. Gilbert emphasizes that you don't need anyone's permission to live a creative life. This is a powerful reminder in a world where we often feel we need validation from others. She writes, "You do not need anybody's permission to live a creative life." This powerful statement serves as a call to action for anyone who has ever held back from creating due to fear of judgment or failure. Gilbert's words are a reminder that the only validation we need to pursue our creative endeavors comes from within. In Big Magic, Gilbert delves into the concept of permission and how societal expectations and internalized fears often prevent us from expressing our true selves. Many of us grow up believing that creativity is something that requires external approval, whether it's from family, friends, teachers, or society at large. We wait for the right moment, the right conditions, or the right affirmation to start creating. Gilbert challenges this notion, emphasizing that we don't need to wait for anyone's approval to lead a creative life. The book is filled with anecdotes from Gilbert's own life, as well as stories of other creative individuals, illustrating how giving yourself permission to create can lead to incredible personal fulfillment and unexpected success. For instance, Gilbert shares her own journey of writing and how she overcame the fear of not being good enough. She recounts how she decided to write for herself rather than for critics or for fame, which allowed her to embrace her creativity fully and authentically. One particularly inspiring story is about her friend who, despite having a full-time job and family responsibilities, dedicated herself to writing in the early hours of the morning. She didn't wait for the perfect conditions or anyone's permission to start. She simply made a commitment to her creative passion. This friend's dedication not only led to the completion of a novel, but also brought her immense joy and a sense of accomplishment. Gilbert also references well-known figures like Einstein, who often spoke about the importance of imagination and creativity in scientific discovery. She points out that many breakthroughs in various fields come from those who dared to think differently and give themselves the freedom to explore their ideas. Moreover, Gilbert addresses the common fear of failure that holds many people back. She argues that failure is an inevitable part of the creative process and should be embraced rather than feared. By reframing failure as a learning experience rather than a definitive end, we can continue to grow and improve in our creative pursuits. She writes about her own experiences with rejection and failure, illustrating that these setbacks are not the end of the road, but stepping stones on the path to success. In encouraging readers to live creatively without seeking permission, Gilbert also touches on the idea of creative entitlement. She explains that this doesn't mean acting with arrogance, but rather with a sense of trust in your own abilities and ideas. It's about believing that you have a right to contribute your voice to the world, regardless of how it's received. Big Magic inspires readers to take bold steps toward their creative dreams, assuring them that they don't need to justify their creative pursuits to anyone. By shedding the need for external validation and embracing our own creative impulses, we can unlock a world of possibilities and experience the true joy of creative living. Embracing fear. Fear is a natural companion to creativity, and Gilbert doesn't shy away from this fact. Instead, she suggests making space for fear but not letting it control you. She beautifully articulates this with the metaphor of a road trip. You can come along with us, fear, but you're not allowed to drive, you're not allowed to touch the radio, and you're not allowed to make any decisions. This vivid imagery captures the essence of how we should deal with fear in our creative pursuits. Gilbert acknowledges that fear is an inevitable companion on the journey of creativity, but it doesn't have to dictate our actions or hinder our progress. This approach acknowledges that fear will always be present, but it doesn't have to take control. By accepting and managing fear, rather than fighting it, you can move forward with your creative projects more freely. Gilbert's metaphor suggests that while fear may ride along with us, it should remain a passive passenger, not an active participant in our decision-making process. In Big Magic, Gilbert explains that fear often arises because creativity involves venturing into the unknown. The unfamiliar territory can trigger our instinct to protect ourselves from potential failure or embarrassment. However, she argues that waiting for fear to disappear before starting a creative project is futile. Instead, we must learn to coexist with our fears, understanding that they are simply a part of the creative process. This philosophy is empowering because it doesn't ask us to deny or suppress our fears. Instead, it invites us to recognize their presence and move forward anyway. For instance, Gilbert shares her own experiences of feeling fear before starting new writing projects. She admits that every new project brings a sense of uncertainty and self-doubt, but she doesn't let these feelings stop her. By relegating fear to the back seat, she allows herself to pursue her creative ambitions with courage and determination. Moreover, this concept resonates with many psychological studies that emphasize the importance of embracing discomfort and uncertainty. Research shows that avoiding fear can lead to increased anxiety and stress, whereas facing it head-on can reduce its power over time. By allowing fear to coexist with our creative efforts, we diminish its ability to paralyze us. Gilbert's metaphor also aligns with ideas from other influential works. For example, Brené Brown, in her book Daring Greatly, discusses the significance of vulnerability and embracing imperfection as a means to foster creativity and innovation. Similarly, Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art highlights the necessity of overcoming resistance, which often manifests as fear, to achieve creative breakthroughs. In practical terms, Gilbert's road trip metaphor encourages us to set boundaries with our fear. It's about acknowledging that fear can offer cautionary advice, but it shouldn't dictate the route we take or the choices we make. By keeping fear in check, we maintain control over our creative journey and allow our true passions and ideas to steer the way. Ultimately, Big Magic teaches us that fear is a natural part of the creative process, but it doesn't have to be a roadblock. By inviting fear to come along for the ride, without giving it control, we can navigate our creative paths with greater freedom and confidence. This liberating perspective allows us to explore our creative potential fully, without being held back by the fears that inevitably arise. Persistence and passion. Another key theme in Big Magic is the importance of persistence and passion. Gilbert stresses that creativity is not always about inspiration, and that often it's about showing up and doing the work. She shares stories of her own writing process, highlighting that even successful authors face rejection and self-doubt. Done is better than good, Gilbert asserts, encouraging us to finish our projects without getting paralyzed by perfectionism. This idea is incredibly liberating, as it allows us to focus on the joy of creating rather than the pressure of achieving perfection. Gilbert believes that the obsession with making something perfect often prevents us from ever completing it. By accepting that a finished project, even if imperfect, is more valuable than an unstarted or unfinished one, we free ourselves from the crippling grip of perfectionism. Perfectionism can be a significant barrier to creativity. It can lead to endless revisions, self-doubt, and ultimately, creative paralysis. Gilbert's philosophy challenges us to let go of the unrealistic standards that perfectionism imposes. She argues that striving for perfection often leads to procrastination, as we become overwhelmed by the fear of not meeting our own or others' expectations. Instead, she advocates for embracing the imperfections that come with the creative process. This approach not only makes the act of creating more enjoyable, but also more productive. By prioritizing completion over perfection, we give ourselves permission to experiment, take risks, and make mistakes, all of which are essential components of the creative process. Gilbert's assertion echoes the sentiments of many successful creators and innovators who have recognized that progress is made through action, not endless deliberation. For instance, in the tech industry, the concept of launching a minimum viable product, MVP, is widely accepted. The idea is to release a product with just enough features to satisfy early adopters and get feedback. This approach values getting a working product out into the world over making it flawless from the start. Similarly, writers are often encouraged to write first drafts without self-editing, understanding that revision and refinement come later. Gilbert's mantra, "Done is better than good," also ties into the idea of iterative creativity. By finishing a project and sharing it with the world, we open ourselves up to feedback and new insights that can inform our future work. Each completed project becomes a stepping stone, helping us grow and improve as creators. It's through this cycle of creation, feedback, and revision that we truly hone our craft. Furthermore, this perspective aligns with the teachings of other influential figures in the creative field. For example, Seth Godin, in his book The Practice, emphasizes the importance of shipping creative work regularly. He argues that waiting for perfection leads to stagnation, while consistently putting work out there leads to growth and improvement. Gilbert also shares personal anecdotes to illustrate this point. She recounts how some of her most successful works were not necessarily her most polished, but were projects she had the courage to complete and release despite their imperfections. These stories serve as a reminder that creative success often comes from persistence and the willingness to put oneself out there, rather than from achieving an unattainable standard of perfection. In summary, "Done is better than good" is a powerful and liberating concept that encourages us to focus on completion rather than perfection. It shifts our mindset from one of fear and self-criticism to one of action and acceptance. By embracing this philosophy, we can overcome the paralysis of perfectionism, enjoy the creative process more fully, and continue to grow and evolve as creators. Gilbert's wisdom reminds us that the act of finishing a project is an achievement in itself, and it's through these finished works, imperfect as they may be, that we make our mark on the world. Trust and collaboration with the muse. Gilbert believes in the importance of collaborating with the muse, or the source of our inspiration. She talks about the creative process as a partnership between the creator and the mysterious forces of inspiration. This partnership requires trust and openness, as well as a willingness to work even when inspiration seems to be absent. Gilbert suggests that inspiration is a living entity, one that we must honor and invite into our creative practice. By fostering a relationship with our muse, we can remain open to new ideas and continue to grow as creative individuals. This involves trusting that inspiration will come, but also showing up and doing the work regardless of its presence. It's about creating a space for the muse to enter and being receptive to its gifts. This approach not only helps sustain creativity, but also deepens our connection to the creative process, making it more rewarding and fulfilling. Final words. Big Magic is a profound yet accessible guide to living a creative life. Gilbert's wisdom and humor shine through, making this book a delightful and inspiring read. Whether you're a seasoned artist or someone just beginning to explore your creative potential, this book offers valuable insights and practical advice. Remember, creativity is not about being perfect or being the best. It's about expressing yourself and bringing something new into the world. As Gilbert says, creative living is where big magic will always abide. Thank you for joining me in this review of Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. I hope this inspires you to embrace your creativity and live a life filled with big magic.
Thanks for joining us on Bookscape. If you enjoyed this book summary and review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts and book recommendations in the comments below. If you want to purchase a copy of the book or audiobook, check out the link in the description. Until next time, happy reading, and remember, every journey begins with a book.